This is She Creates Business, a podcast for wedding pros. Your host, Kinsey Roberts, interviews incredible women in the wedding industry who are making their mark and creating success on their terms. Join the conversation.
Hello there. Welcome to episode 151 of She Creates Business, a podcast for wedding pros. This is your host, as always, Kinsey Roberts. I'm a wedding venue owner and educator in Colorado. Thank you for being here today. Really quickly, before we get started, I want to apologize for my voice. I am still sick as I record this introduction, but I wanted to get this episode out to you, so I do sound a little bit funky. If this is your first time here and you are super annoyed by this voice, I promise this is not how I usually sound, so apologies in advance. Still a little bit sick, but we're getting through it. Really quickly, I want to tell you guys that as I record this in real time, Sunday, November 10th, 2019 is the launch of the She Creates Content Calendar. It is a 365-day marketing calendar for wedding professionals only. It's not generalized content, and it has a marketing content prompt every single day of the year. It is completely planned out for you. You basically just plug and play, operate it through your own business. You can use it for your social media. You can use it for your own podcast, your own YouTube channel, for your blog, for all of the above. I'd love to see you use it in more than one place. Here's the cool thing. You can also just hand it over to an associate or to your virtual assistant and say, hi, I would like for you to implement this for the next year. I think a lot of us suffer from lack of consistency in our marketing, and that's why I created this calendar, because I'm raising my hand. That's me. I'm still there. I suffer from a lack of consistency, and I think consistent, helpful content combined with superior service in the niche that you're in the wedding industry can blow your business up. I truly believe that. Consistent content, listen, hear this one more time. Consistent, helpful content combined with a superior service and customer and client relationship can blow your business up in any year. I believe that. Use this for a year, use it for 6 months consistently. That's the key word here. Let me know how it's changed your business. I'm super excited about it. It's coming at you November 10th, 2019. If you're listening to this show anytime after that, it is live on my website. Head over to shecreatesbusinesspodcast.com and grab your copy. It is $127. So that's less than 35 cents per day for a completely planned out for you piece of marketing content in the year that you're going to do it. Proud of you. Cannot wait for you to use it. I can't wait to use it. I'm excited. Let's talk about Ashley Stork. That's my guest today. This is actually Ashley's hat trick on the podcast today. It's her third visit to the show as a guest. Every single time she delivers, she basically just blows it out of the water, and today is no exception. Today, Ashley's on the show, and she's going to discuss the 5 areas of your business where you need systems and processes. And she's not just going to kind of finger shake at you and say, hey, you need systems and processes. She's actually breaking down these 5 areas and telling you exactly the systems and processes you could implement in each of these 5 areas that will transform your business and transform the way you run your business. So those 5 areas we talk about today are client management, operations, accounting and HR, and marketing. And holla at your girl, if you need to systematize marketing, probably the She Creates Content Calendars for you, right? So that's what I'm talking with Ashley about. And she has so generously offered a 10% discount on her Wedding Business Bosses live conference. It's coming up in January 2020. It's in Birmingham, Alabama. It's at a beautiful historic hotel. If you've been listening for any amount of time, you know I love history. So it's at a beautiful hotel in Birmingham, Alabama. It is January 19th through the 22nd, 2020. And it is for wedding industry professionals who've been in business for at least a year plus. And the reason Ashley did that is because she wants to cover specific content. That's my girl. She wants to cover specific content that's actually going to help you propel your business forward in 2020 and beyond. She didn't want to water it down and try to kind of just appeal to the masses. Not that it's not, then that's, I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that if you've been in business for a year plus, this conference is for you. If you haven't been in business for quite a year yet, maybe you're just getting started. Maybe it's only been 5 months. The content wouldn't be as helpful, right? So she's actually doing everyone a favor here. There's incredible speakers like Laura Foote, CC Todd from CC Designs, who has also been on this podcast, Ginny Krause and Kristen Kaplan. They have also been on this podcast. Amber Anderson, just awesome people who are really, like I say, going to help you propel your business forward in 2020. So if you are looking for a live workshop, a live conference, some sort of event to attend in 2020, take a peek at Wedding Business Bosses Live. I'm putting the link in the show notes, but you can also find it at weddingbusinessbosses.com. Let me tell you a little bit about Ashley. Wedding Business Bosses is content, support, and community for wedding professionals looking to streamline and systematize their business so they can grow as well as take control of their time and schedule. Wedding Business Bosses is hosted by Ashley Stork, a wedding planner and business owner based in Birmingham, Alabama. Ashley has had 8+ years experience in the industry as well as 10 years experience in entrepreneurship. Systems and processes were the thing that radically changed her business, and she is thrilled to use the Wedding Business Bosses platform to share with others. WBB has a free Facebook community as well as a membership community, online summits, and live in-person events. And that's the live in-person event I just told you about. So if you want to listen to her last episode, it's episode 107. We talk about how she was using video in her planning business, and she still is. That was back in episode 107. So you can head back after you listen to this one. But without further ado, let's head to today's episode with Ashley Stork of Wedding Business Bosses. She's going to share the 5 areas of your business that you need systems and processes, and she's breaking it all down today, folks. Here we go. Ashley, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me, Miss Kinsey.
It is my pleasure as always. You know, you are one of only 2 people. You are the second person who's been on the show 3 times.
I'm a She Creates groupie.
I want you to be my groupie. I don't know how that sounded, but I couldn't take it back. Like it was already coming out of my mouth.
I just want to chat with you all the time.
I want to chat with you all the time. And we were talking about this offline. I was actually just talking to my sister-in-law about this because she sent me a really sweet birthday message. And then we got into, hey, it's been a while since we've chatted. I'm so you know how you always do that? Like, I'm so sorry. It's been a while. No, I'm sorry. And anyway, long story short, it reminded me of you because every time I talk to you, and you and I have been talking a little bit more recently, every time I talk to you, I think that same thing to myself. Like, why don't I make more time to reach out to the people who I just adore and love speaking with? And you're one of those people. But anyway,
you're so sweet. I adore and love you too.
You're sweet. So I don't know. We all need to be better at that, you guys. Let's make a commitment.
I agree.
Someone listening is probably like, I'm really good at that, Kinsey, so I don't have a problem. And you know what, person, DM me on Instagram to teach me your ways.
Yeah, agreed. Share them with all of us.
Well, looking forward to this topic because systems, processes, I always feel as if it's important to get multiple points of views when it comes to this because although we are in the same industry, we're all running different businesses. We all have different productivity styles, but gaining margin in our life, I think, is something that we can all come together and agree on. And it's something you're very passionate about, and you work really hard to educate your people about this. And so we're talking about kind of 5 key sections in our businesses today that you should be creating processes in that will help you gain margin in your life. But really, before we get there, Ashley, I read your professional bio at the top of the show. We're not going to dig too deep into your personal history and what you do in the industry because we have 2 episodes of that, you guys. But just give us the rundown and what you're doing over there in Alabama.
Yeah, I'll give the high level eagle eye view. So, I own Magnolia Vine Events, which is an event and wedding planning company based in Birmingham, Alabama. And now I am the owner of Wedding Business Bosses, which I am the owner and host of. So we have a free Facebook community. We're hosting our first live workshop in January 2020, and some really great other things coming down the line of hopefully a course around what we're going to talk about today, virtual summits for next year. And really the purpose of Wedding Business Bosses is to be support, content, and community for wedding business owners around creating margin and space in their life so they can grow and scale their business and find that space not only in their personal lives, but also in their business. And grow and scale means a lot of things to a lot of people. To me, it doesn't mean you have to hire 50 million people. It just means maybe finding the things that you can start to outsource so you can have some of that margin that you might be looking for if you are wearing all the hats, spinning all the plates, and hoping that none of them drop. So that's really what I am passionate about, because when I found systems and processes for my own business, that's really when things began to change for me personally and professionally. And so, and of course, like as businesses grow and change and just the years go on, like you have to continue to tweak these things to make more sense. But yeah, that's really our focus over at Wedding Business Bosses.
And I appreciate you speaking about this topic specifically because number one, you've been in the industry for quite a while. Number two, you purchased your planning business. So you developed, and that's actually the first episode Ashley and I ever did together, friends. So if you want to listen to that, I'll put it in the show notes. But you purchased that planning business. So you had to create processes, you know, from something that already existed, but that actually fits your life and not the previous owners. And then you purchased Wedding Business Bosses also from someone else. And so again, you're really beefing up these two businesses, making them your own, making your own processes and finding out what's worked for you. And so I love that you have this variety of experience, not only with your local planning company, but also with this really important online educational space for wedding pros.
Yeah, buying businesses has been interesting and an education, and maybe I'll write a book on it one day, but you can hear all about that on that first episode. But you're right. Like as I have bought those businesses, they did come with some systems and processes, but then you have to, like what I took time to do with both of those businesses is say, okay, this is the way they were doing it. And then as you realize how you like to work and what is resonating with the audience, what isn't resonating with the audience, especially with the planning business. I really bought it when like online planning systems were taking off, online project management systems were taking off. And so prior to that, we didn't have that. And so it was, how do I take these Word documents and streamline them into something that is working for this client that is now used to an online project management software, because that's what they do in their work life. And also with Wedding Business Bosses, I've had to tweak that in terms of I'm running my planning business, I'm running Wedding Business Bosses. And so what is like important to me in that business? What is the content that's resonating with people? What are the products that are resonating with people? What are the experiences that are resonating with people? And then how do I take what was already established and sort of tweak it and form it into that, and how I personally work too. So that's been interesting.
Do you feel as if you are with Wedding Business Bosses specifically, since that's the one you most recently purchased, do you feel as if you have kind of arrived at the process, or is that still ongoing, and you are still developing processes that are making that an easier business to run for you and what you have going on in your life?
Oh gosh, yeah, that's a good question. I think I'm definitely still in the development phase, we'll call it. Like I am still trying to figure out what does the audience love? What are they responding the best to? How does it work? What are the tasks and things I need to do to be the best I can for Wedding Business Bosses, but also for Magnolia Vine Events, because we do have clients on that side that they obviously have paid us and expect us to plan their wedding. A few things I did differently than when I bought the planning business was I recognized I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not. And so I hired a VA right away for Wedding Business Bosses. Because like tech things, as Kenzie can attest to after this morning, are not my forte. And I do not want to spend my energy coming up with a web page or coming up with a graphic or setting up an email. I really like to write, but beyond that, that is not the best use of my time in this season when we're really heavy on weddings. We're really heavy on client work. And I also have to give Wedding Business Bosses a lot of attention because we also have clients over there where we've launched our live event that's happening January 2020. So there's work to be done there too. And so I did hire a VA right away. That is an expense, but one of the best decisions I've made. And I've started documenting what my processes are right away. With the planning business, I didn't really do that, and I didn't really understand that until much later down the road. So I have already started what we call in Magnolia Vine Events, like our guidebook, which is the 5 processes we're going to talk about is all of those laid out. So I've already started that for wedding business bosses. So as I do something, I'll pull up that document and go in there and either edit the steps, write the steps, and that kind of thing. So that's something I've done different that I didn't do with the first business, because you just don't know what you don't know.
That's right. That's right. It took all of that, it takes us all of that learning in those previous businesses to apply to whatever comes later. And
the school of hard knocks.
That's right. We should get t-shirts.
Yeah. Like I always say, like, please come learn from all of my mistakes so you do not have to make them. And I say that with like love, because I've been a business owner in some capacity for like 12 years now. I had a business before I had the wedding business and a sales business. And so I've learned a lot over the years. And some of that is just like life. And sometimes you fall on your face and you get back up and you say, okay, I'm not going to do that again. And here's how I'm going to do that differently. Or you have a really great win and you're like, okay, that worked. Like, let's rinse, repeat, and tweak it to make sure it works even better again. And that's what I'm really finding with wedding business bosses, which has been really fun and exciting. And I think with planning, I've been in the industry for 9 years. I've owned my business for almost 6. And so I don't want to say it's not stale. It's just that I'm seasoned and we're good at it. And I can write a timeline in my sleep and we're good at all of those things, which is great. But the challenges are maybe a little fewer and far between now. And so with this new business, it's really kind of sparked something new in me where there are some challenges and there are hurdles to hop over. And that's kind of fun and exciting too.
That is exciting. I'm glad to hear you say that. Well, let's talk about these 5 sections that we can create processes in, because as you just mentioned, wedding business bosses is something that has relit a spark in you. And I really believe that if we can hash out processes in our businesses to create the margin that you're talking about, I believe that that's something that can also reignite passion for our business and passion for our projects that we have, because it creates that space. And so I would love to dig into that. Now, I'm just going to go down this list. You have 5 sections. They are client management, operations, marketing, accounting, and HR. So we're going to dive into those 5 sections, and let's kick off with client management. But first, if there's any way you want to preface this, I'm totally game for that. Otherwise, I'm cool to just dig in.
Yeah, let's dig in. So I will give a little preference. This is the way I teach processes. I think most people, the reason we start with client management is kind of like that's the thing that they are maybe the most stressed about, or it's also probably the thing you have the best handle on because you are serving your client in whatever way like your service is. So I'll talk about it from planning, but I'll interchange what that might look like for other niches of the industry. But so client management, the way we talk about it is everything it takes from your client to go from the sales process, so your inquiry process, all the way through post-event. So what does your inquiry and sales process look like? Oh, I would also like to say, if you were like, how do I even begin flushing this out? A good old-fashioned pen and paper is where I teach all of our clients and students to start with. And then move it into a pretty document somewhere if you would like to. Move it into a Google Doc eventually, because the goal and the purpose of this is so you have this all documented so it's shareable and it's teachable when you onboard a VA or you onboard an employee or you onboard an assistant. But I really believe in good old-fashioned pen and paper to start with. That's just how my brain works. If your brain works better typing, go ahead and just pull up a plain old document and start typing away. So I want you to break down these things like kindergarten level. What happens when your inquiry process takes place? How do they inquire with you? Do you have an email you send them? Do you add them to your client management software? What happens next? Where's the proposal hosted? Do you have a template for that? How do you confirm the booking? Where do you send the contract and invoice? I mean, this is like really you're breaking it down elementary. I also think something people need to think about systems and processes for is, what if you get sick? What if you have a family member that gets sick and needs your attention and you cannot be tied to your business? As women, what if we get pregnant? What if we are going through an adoption? What if something happens with your family? What if you are in a car accident? You need to think about these things in terms of documenting, where if you needed to say to that VA or that assistant, hi, this has happened, tag you're it. And they can go through and they have a handle on every single thing and there isn't a question. Now, I also would like to preface this by saying you need to use a project management software to the actual operations and management of all of this, but you also have to, I don't believe in starting there, because to me, that's a tool. You need to have a handle on what the process is. Mm-hmm. So with client management, obviously we just talked about the inquiry sales process. So the other part of that would be your onboarding. So do you send them a welcome email? Do you send them a gift? Do you have a software you sent them up in? What is onboarding that client to get them started with you look like? And then what is the service you're providing them? So you want to document that out. Like if you're a photographer and you have 3 different packages, document out what each package entails. Because if you have a package that's just wedding day and you have a package that's engagement session plus wedding day, there's going to be a few more steps in that elevated package than the other one. So you're going to document out what all your steps are for client experience. Is there anything for event day, your event day process? Like we work with a photographer that does same day edits on their website. So maybe on her event process list, she has like pack, laptop, and charger, so she doesn't forget those. If you're a makeup artist, maybe it's arrive to the studio and these are the things you need to do to prep before the client arrives. So just like things like that. And then what does your post-event process look like? Do you ask for a review? Do you send them an email? Do you send them a gift? Do you need to collect blog images? All those kinds of things. This is what we help our students and clients document out for managing a client. What does it take to get from point A to point Z all the way through the time that they're with you?
And then how are we, I guess it depends on the CRM that we choose. How are we, once we have written this out, whether it be paper, whether we typed it in a Word doc, how are we plugging this into our CRM to create those automated processes? So,
wonderful question. We use Asana. That's what we use in our business. I just am an Asana freakazoid. Everything lives in there for us. And we have templates set up for each type of service we provide. So we have 2 service types. And so we have a templated project. And then that way you just copy the project, name it with that new client name, assign what you need to assign, give it dates when the dates are due, and you're done.
And do you go through, so you assign an Asana project, it's already templated. So what you've done, what you're saying is everything you've just written down, you are copying that into Asana. So now that becomes the checklist for each event. It is a quote template in Asana, and each wedding you book in your planning company gets that template copied to its list. And now you just checking those things off as you get them done.
And we just check them off and that little unicorn goes across my screen. It's very satisfying.
So Asana has unicorns?
Yes. Unicorns, narwhals. I'm trying to think of what else. It's very satisfying.
Wow. I feel satisfied and I didn't even know that. That's great. And so you're using Asana. Are you also using any tools such as IO Planner or Dubsado or Honeybook? So
since we're a planning company, we use Asana for what I say, like our back end. So the business facing uses Asana. Clients do not get added to Asana. I know other people that do that, but we use Asana to manage the business. We use IO Planner as client facing. So our contracts go out of IO Planner, our invoices, proposals, and then they get a project made in IO Planner. That is really, it is for us. There are things in IO Planner, that tools and things that are great that we use for parts of the project, but it's not necessarily on the back end where we are managing the project.
That makes a lot of sense. And one thing I want to say about tools, about subscription tools such as Asana, such as IO Planner, Dubsado, things that cost yearly or monthly. And Ashley, I'm interested if you agree with this. I think you probably will, but I feel it's important to say that if you are just getting started in your business, or you serve, 5 to 10 clients, maybe, and you're like, gosh, my funds are really limited. I think it's important to get your process down first, and then you can transition to these really high-end tools later.
100%.
Because and I will say that I had just recently had someone on the show, and I agreed with this as well, because this was also true. She said that she thinks you should start with these tools because it is a competitive environment, and that is true. And there's nothing wrong with looking professional right out of the gate. Also true. And so I do agree with that. But I think that, if funds are a major concern and you're like, I do want to look professional, but I truly, truly, truly cannot spend $150 a month on all of these tools, I get that. And guess what? You can still run your business. So I think it's really important you can be just as organized and just as professional looking if you just have those processes in place and you're using spreadsheets, or what I mean? But then
I use the free version of Asana, like full disclosure. I use the free version.
Okay, that's great news.
I do pay for IO Planner because it is so robust and it does so much for us. Yeah. So I do think I agree with you. I do think if funds are limited, you also have to look at the time versus cost ratio, because if you're using some random free thing for invoicing and some random free thing for contracts, but you can't save a template in either of them, and you have to log into a couple different places, and maybe it feels clunky and it's not streamlined, and maybe it's taking you a while,
and you're making mistakes,
and it might be worth that cost. And maybe just think about it that way. I also wanted to say something about tools. Tools will not make the process. You have to document your process. A tool is simply a vehicle to execute it. And so, like, having Asana is not going to be some magical answer to your business being more organized and streamlined and giving you that margin. There has to be a process behind the content that you're putting in that tool. And I think sometimes people are like, well, I tried Asana, I didn't like it. I tried Trello, I didn't like it. I tried Dubsado, I didn't like it. Well, did you have a real process that you put in there? Did you really spend time figuring out the best way to use the tool for you? And if the answer to that is no, well, then nothing's going to work.
That's so smart, Ashley. I'm glad you said that. Yes, so true. I feel like I've mentioned this on the show before. I can attest to that. I used to work for Acuity Scheduling, and we have amazing clients. Everyone is awesome. But I could feel that frustration sometimes with folks who would say, I just, this didn't work for me. I don't get it. It's not helpful. It's just like, listen, you have to have appointments. You have to have some sort of business back end to input into this tool, and you need to take the time to learn the tool. It doesn't magically make your business busier. That's not what it is. It's something for you to input what you already have to save you time. And again, what Ashley's talking about is to bring margin to your life. It doesn't create the thing for you. It's the container for the thing.
Yeah, totally.
Smart. Anything else that we want to touch on client management?
No,
okay, let's move to operations. Okay. What can we do in our operations?
So sometimes people get a little confused by this. I view client management and operations differently. I view operations as the work of managing the inner workings of your business so it runs as efficiently as possible. It can also be defined as the activities involved in the day-to-day functions of the business conducted for the purpose of generating profits, which I know is really wordy, but that's how I view operations. So really what I want you to think about in this space is, what are the reoccurring tasks you're doing for your business every day? Like, what are the things you're doing on a daily basis? What are the things you're doing on a monthly basis? Ideas for this can be, what accounting tasks are you doing? Content writing, updating your scheduler, mileage update, receipts, like specific meetings you might have monthly. You might see people call this like monthly duty day. That's what we call it. It's really kind of those things that they might fall in other categories, but quite frankly, they're the operations that keep the business moving forward. And so we also have some operation management meetings that we do. So these are also, again, the things that help move our business forward. So we have a project calendar meeting, our weekly team meeting, staff meetings for event staff meetings. And these are all set up in Asana as recurring tasks with agendas to match, which you can do. And it's really great and very, very nice and keeps everybody on the same page. I also put, like, if you're documenting all this, I would put in operations, what are like the software and digital products your company uses? So do you have a specific email client or you're using? Do you need your employees have that set up a certain way? What client management software are you using? We kind of mentioned a few of those, like Aisle Planner, Dubsado, Honeybook, any of those. So operations are sort of like those gears. I kind of think of it of like the gears that are making the car move. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so can you tell us a little bit more? You mentioned duty date. Can you break that down just a little bit more, what you teach your clients to do?
Yeah. So I believe in efficiency. We've talked about that. And so I think for us, what I had to start batching my work because I was kind of hopping around and doing all these things halfway, and then things weren't getting done. And my accountant was like, hey, you forgot this. By the end of the year, I was like, shoot, I haven't documented my mileage at all. I was behind on content writing and just all these things that I knew to move the business forward and to stay on track, I needed to get done, but I needed a focused day to do it. So I do this on the first day of the month. The nice thing about it too is it kind of gets me set up for the month. I like to look at my goals for the quarter. So based on the goals for the quarter, what needs to be executed that month. And then that sort of helps me determine what else needs to be done on duty day. So I try to make that my day of like, get everything over to my bookkeeper. What content does my social media manager need me to write? Do I need to update? I use Acuity. Do I need to update the calendar with appointments we already have? Maybe you send monthly emails to your clients. So that would be a great day to do that. Do you need to schedule specific meetings with your clients so you make sure that the service that you're contracted for doesn't fall through the cracks? Update your mileage. Those kinds of things are what I use monthly duty day for.
Do you have an office outside of the home?
We do.
Okay.
Which is where I am today.
Okay. And have you found, is that where you do your duty days and do you work there basically from a daily basis? How does that impact your productivity? No. Okay.
We live about an hour out. We recently moved for my husband's job. And so we live about an hour outside of Birmingham. And so I come to the office Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I said I do it on the first day of the month. I really try to do it on the first Monday of the month because I'm at home.
Yeah.
And I mean this with a lot of love because I love my girls, but nobody needs my attention. And I'm also not tempted to jump into other projects. If I am here at the office, I will be tempted to jump into other projects and not stay focused on those tasks that I'm supposed to be doing that day.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that was kind of a sidebar. Sorry.
The office is like, it's very strange. Sometimes I am 10 times more productive at home. Other times I'm like, oh, look, there's dishes. Oh, look, there's laundry. And I get very distracted. Other times I am the most efficient and the most productive at home because my head is down and I can grind it out and nobody else is seeking my attention.
That makes a lot of sense. That was a tangent on my part. Sorry, but I feel like it all kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. What else about operations? I feel like you covered a lot there. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I really view it as sort of like the critical pieces of keeping your business moving forward. I also, like I mentioned, I like to include in our guidebook that we share with new employees. That's also where we'll include like logins to anything that the employee needs, and things like online software we use, email setup, anything like that. And what those softwares are for, I think is really important too.
Oh, so it says, this is IO Planner. Here's what it's for and why we use it.
Exactly.
So they kind of have an idea immediately after reading their employee handbook. Oh, okay. I may not know exactly how to use it, but I understand the point of this in my job.
But if I know I need to create a layout, this is where I go.
Smart. Okay.
Yeah.
And when you created your employee handbook, did you truly just, type that out in a Word doc, or did you have somebody design that for you? What did that look like?
It is not cute. It is in a Google Doc. And the reason it's not cute is because I really believe this stuff needs to be evergreen in your business. One of the things in my monthly duty day list is to actually take an assessment at our processes and see what needs to be changed up. And some months we go months without changing anything. And then we go, last month I added a couple extra checklists onto our event documents. And so I needed to update our process for that and make sure that everybody knew what those new things were and what they were for. And I went and updated the guidebook. So I would love for that to be like a printed pretty thing, because I love printed pretty things. But in reality, that guidebook is should always be a changing document in your business. And I don't mean like always changing every single day, but the way you do business today is going to be different than the way you do business next year. Mm-hmm. And so we just have it as a Google Doc. And literally, I have these 5 headings, and all of the steps and processes are underneath each heading. It is not fancy by any means.
I like that. And I'm glad you said that, because I think that is helpful to hear, that someone who's been in the business for almost 10 years, this is something we all have. And Google Docs is free. So there you go.
And it's free. I have an employee that she chose to print it out, and she likes to make notes in it, which I'm like, girl, you're a person after my own heart. And she knows when, like, I will tell her, hey, I updated this. She might print out those new pages. But for her, that's what she likes, and I'm here for it. But I'm not going to print and bind one for every person we hire, because the fact of the matter is I might change my mind next week about how we do something to make it more efficient and better. And then you need a whole new book. But Absolutely. she printed that at home and made her own binder. And I was like, oh, well, we're going to be best friends.
You're like, oh, okay. So you just like, keep that employee handbook, because I love you already.
Yes.
Well, what about, can we move on to marketing?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
So the reason we teach in this order is because I want our students to get client management and operations processes up and running, so they're really comfortable. Because I think the thing people come to the table with on this topic is like, I want to work on my business. We hear that all the time. Work on your business, not in your business. So if you have the processes and systems set up for client management and operations, that's in your business. Your business should be going. Marketing to me is the work on your business part. So maybe you can step away from your desk to go visit some vendors, make some connections, go to a networking group, go to your local Rising Tide Society group, whatever that might look like. And so with marketing, we'll talk mostly digital marketing in this, but if you do any other marketing, like you regularly print an ad in a local magazine, or you have a TV ad or radio ad, there might be a process that you need to document for that. Like when your ad is due, copies due, how do you come up with that kind of thing? I'm mostly going to talk about social and blogging, but I would recommend whatever platforms you are posting on. Basically, again, that same very kindergarten level, like very elementary level we took with client management, you're going to take that for each platform that you post on. So if it's Instagram, where do they pull the caption? Where is the image? When do you post it? What hashtags do you use? Do you change the hashtags every day? Does that then require an Insta story post? Like very, very broken down. And the reason for this is, I think this is also the thing people want to outsource kind of I think this in accounting is what people want to outsource. So if you have a specific way that you like your blog post formatted, well, that needs to be broken down, because unfortunately that social media manager or assistant cannot read your brain. And you don't want steps missed that you deem important. So let's say it's your blog post. Maybe something that's important to you is that they create the Pinterest graphic, but then do you have in your process that they need to go pin that post either directly on Pinterest or through a scheduler? So just really making sure that you break down every single step for every platform that you are on. So if this is something you decide to hand over, it's super, super clear. And I would also encourage you, maybe for us, like I really like to write. And so my marketing manager gives me kind of the content plan. He says, hey, here are the topics that I want you to write about. I'll come up with the content, but then he is going to go execute the rest. And so it needs to be clear what you are doing versus what somebody else is doing. So I think that's what helps with this as well.
That is helpful. And you've mentioned a few times that you've outsourced a few things in marketing. When do you find that, I'm assuming the answer is yes, because you're doing it, but how did you justify outsourcing that? Like, how long did it take you in your business until you outsourced some pieces of marketing, and have you seen a return on that?
Probably in year 2. Again, I really like to write. Like, writing is very cathartic for me. It's what I enjoy. So it's the part that I want to hang on to. Sure. I am just only one person, and in our second year, our weddings bookings nearly tripled. And I was like, hi, I'm out of hours in the day. So somebody else who knows more about, and now sadly, I'm getting old. And so I know way less about, somebody that this is their job is to know social media, know marketing in this capacity. For me, I was like, I just need some things off my plate. And I think you have to think about, I had a boss say this to me one time, like, if you're juggling a lot of balls, what balls are glass and which balls are rubber? And what are you going to let bounce and what's going to break? And for us, social media, particularly Instagram, is one of our top referral sources. And so we have to be very consistent about the content there. Also, because I bought my business, I have a long-standing SEO. And so if we do not blog regularly, that can affect us negatively. And Google and just a general web search is how we get a large number of inquiries. And so those two things have to be kept up. And I have noticed when I have let the ball shatter, it really affects the business. And so if it's all dependent on me to get done, it's just not going to. I just don't have the capacity at this point. And so I know I have talked about outsourcing a little bit, and you might be thinking, well, I'm new. I can't outsource yet. I would really like to. I would say the first year or two in your business, I think it is good to do the majority yourself, because you need to know enough to know if the person you're going to hire is doing their job. I know enough to know if the people working for me in these other areas, I don't mean my planners, but the things I have outsourced like this, I know enough to know if they're doing their job.
That's right.
I also know less than they do to make it really great and successful. And so they are smarter in this arena than I am. And so I would much rather somebody smarter than me be at the helm of this. I just have to be enough in the know to recognize if the posts are low or the engagement's low or blogs have trailed off. Like, I have to say to everybody, okay, what's going on? Because this is going to affect our inquiries. And I've seen that happen when it was all on my plate.
And did you is that when you really learned, like, wow, I do need to outsource this?
Yeah.
Or did you kind of know that before? Or did you see, oh my gosh, our inquiries have really changed? This means outsource.
A little bit of both. I was hitting burnout. This was like year 2, year 3. I was hitting burnout. Again, I was just too much was on me. And I was like, something's got to go. I need some help. And so that was like posting on Instagram, Pinterest, formatting the blogs and stuff was one of the first things I outsourced because it just takes time. And all of a sudden I had 18 clients on my roster when the year before I had 9 or 8. I think we had 8 and we went to 18 the next year. And I was just like,
Yeah.
And then there was
I'm still only one person.
I am still only one person. And then there was a time that it, you go through phases. It came back onto my plate. And I did notice the inquiries drop off. And I was like, nope, never again. This isn't going to happen. And so it's just a real priority to me because I know it directly correlates to the inquiries, which directly correlates to the sales.
That is such an amazing testament to outsourcing. And I love that you were able to make that connection. It's dollar signs, it's revenue. It's revenue in our business. And it's really important, I think, for us to start making those connections and really thinking about our businesses from that tactical standpoint. And yes, we all love weddings and all the pretty things and we can be feely all day, but really we have got to boil it down to, if I am not outsourcing this, I am getting less inquiries, I am making less money.
And I think that's something we're going to talk about WBB Live, our workshop in January, is moving from that doer mindset to that CEO mindset. And even if you still are a solopreneur, you're still the one doing it, it's still a mindset shift. And so at some point, I just had to say, if I want this business to move to the next level, I just can't do everything. Because one, my husband is going to lose it on me. Not because he's a terrible guy, because he's a great guy and wants to spend time with me. And 2, as the CEO of Magnolia Vine Events, I need to think about what is the thing that nobody else can do that I do. And so if removing some of those tasks and things from my plate to somebody else's plate allows me to attend more networking events, to go meet with more vendors, to make more connections that are going to lead to more business, that will always be worth outsourcing a to-do to me. Always.
That's right. Do you have anything else you want to add in our marketing section?
The only other thing I would add, which I didn't get too deep in, which we do teach about, but just really creating a content calendar is something that you can do on that monthly duty day. So not only having the steps, but what I would encourage people to have in this kind of guidebook area is like your framework for how you create a content calendar. Because maybe you like certain images, like a rotation of images. Maybe you like certain things posted on certain days, and making sure your goals are aligning with the content that you're putting out there will be helpful, not only to you to have on paper, but also, again, if you decide to outsource this, I think that's also really helpful for somebody to see. I'll just use this as an example. It's kind of my example I use all the time. We last year went through a phase where we weren't booking as many full planning clients. And I was like, okay, what's going on? And so my marketing manager and I came up with like this really great blog series on what does the full planning process look like. And we used a specific client and highlighted their wedding throughout this like 4-part blog series. And then it gave us great content to talk about on Instagram. And magically, guess what?
You booked more full planning clients.
We were full for full planning clients for 2019. So I think making sure that your content's aligning with your goals. And to me, the only way to do that is to see it all mapped out on a calendar. So that is something I would also include.
I like that a lot. Really smart. Really smart. And thank you for that very specific example. I think that really illustrated the point that you're making, and that here's how I aligned it with my goals. I wanted to book more full planning clients. Here's how I made that happen via content.
Yeah.
Really smart. I like that a lot.
Thank you, friend.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, friend. Accounting processes. Ugh, I hate it. My accounting process is basically like, when can we just outsource this to another human? But you tell me.
My accounting
process
is hire a bookkeeper.
Yes.
That I will say, actually, before I outsourced marketing, I hired a bookkeeper. That was the first thing I decided to outsource.
Amen.
So I think these are the things I want you to think about in your like accounting, finance sort of processes. How do you invoice? So what system are you using for invoices? Like an aisle planner, we're able to set up templates and makes it super easy and smooth. Make sure it's really easy for clients to pay you. I would also include, like, if you're documenting all this out, the way you take payments, how you prefer clients to pay you. Set a date for invoicing to happen on the same day every month and make this a monthly task in your project system. So we send everybody invoices on the 25th, and that's when it happens. And it just makes my life a whole lot easier. I don't even have to think about it. Some systems you're able to just auto set up, like when the payments are due, it'll send them a reminder. Ours does send them a reminder, but I also like to send an email that's like, hey, by the way, this is due, please pay me. I say automate everything you can. Automate your bills, automate your payroll, automate your taxes. Like, automate everything in this area that you physically can handle, mentally can handle. And really, truly, for me, I think something that's really, really important is if you are not keeping up with your monthly expenses, like categorizing them in whatever, like QuickBooks you're using, because then you're not going to have the reports to make smart financial choices. You really need to consider outsourcing this. You also, with accounting systems, I like setting up a monthly cash flow review day and a P&L report view day, which is a profit and loss report. So seeing, where did I lose? Where did I gain? Okay, we spent too much here this month. Okay, let's scale that back. I actually just did this when I did our review last month. I noticed a few things that I was like, why are we still paying for this? Like, I thought I canceled that. And just, things like that, I think is really important to just keep an eye on. Something you might want to add into your like monthly kind of review system is copy file your receipts. Maybe, and then just like any other financial needs you have to tend to. I will say, this is what makes my brain hurt. I again, need to know enough because I am the business owner, but I would much rather my wonderful bookkeeper say, Ashley, here's your P&L report. Here was your profit for the month. Great job. Watch this category. You're spending too much here. What are you doing?
Yep.
And
yes.
Yeah. So those are that is my advice on financial systems. Set days and times that your bills are paid, automate what you can, and hire somebody that this is their job.
How do you keep track of your receipts? Do you use do you use an app on your phone? Do you just keep paper receipts and give them to your bookkeeper?
This is so terrible.
No, it's not terrible. I mean, we're all
we keep paper receipts once a month. If we have paper receipts, we keep paper receipts. They go in the same place. So there is a system to that.
That's a system. Yeah.
We photocopy them because like over time, the receipt paper will fade and stuff. Yeah. And then we put them in a binder and file them. So when my bookkeeper might ask, like, what is this $50 charge at Target for? I can go back through and go, oh, that was welcome box stuff, or that was emergency kit replenish or whatever. Also, if you get audited, like, you will have to pull those paper receipts. And so like having the photocopy of the receipt itself so it doesn't fade and you can tell what it is super important.
Ugh, audited.
Ugh. I know.
This was really great though. I like this section. You really made this basic to understand, and I think we all need that, no matter how long you've been in business. And if you're not hiring anyone yet, fine, but make it the first thing you outsource, honestly, because
make it the first thing you outsource before you even outsource marketing. I always say, like, you can tell the health of a business. I think the success of a business comes from finance and marketing. And so
yes,
this is where like the health of your business lives. And so if you can't outsource your accounting quite yet, that's okay. Just you have to be very diligent about keeping up with putting your expenses together and running the reports so your taxes are correct. Again, that A word, especially if you ever get audited, like not only your yearly taxes, but your employee taxes, quarterly taxes, all that junk. Quite frankly, I want somebody smarter than me to tell me what to do.
Yeah, absolutely. The A word. I could not keep a straight face. And, if that does happen to any of us, and it totally could, we will be so grateful that we chose to outsource something like this. No, it's not as sexy as hiring a VA to blog for you or to Instagram for you or what have you, but I don't give a crap about Instagram if I'm getting audited.
Right. Don't care.
Mm-hmm. Don't care.
Don't care.
I'd rather, that's right. So, all right. Yeah. I like this. That was good. You really broke that down. That was,
thanks.
Yeah. I just, topics like that, I feel sometimes they're not easy for people to teach. They're also hard to absorb because they can feel very daunting and or very dry. And I just appreciate the way you broke that down in very human, pragmatic terms.
Well, thanks. Mm-hmm, and in our programs and with our clients and students, we give them like a lot of templates and a lot of forms. And I'm kind of giving the big overarching view, but something I try to give people that work with us is really tangible products that they can then take and format for them. And again, I keep saying it, but that's also something like our Wedding Business Bosses Live friends are going to get, attendees are going to get is some really tangible things that they can take and format for their own business. And I think that's really important. Like in any learning, any process and system, try it out for a little while the way whoever you bought it from or are learning from. And then you'll find like, okay, I don't really do that step. So we can eliminate that. Or actually, I need to add in these 3 other things because we do these 3 extra things or something. I think that's really important to keep in mind.
Yeah, agreed. Let's talk about HR a bit here.
Okay. So what I think is maybe confusing or not confusing, but trips us up is like, hello, I am the HR department at our company.
Right.
But because, we're not some big conglomeration, but I think you still need to have some policies and procedures set up, even if you don't have anybody, or even if you just have an event assistant. It's things like, where does their paperwork get filed? Do you have a employee or a contractor file? And this also goes for like if you outsource to any independent contractor, like a VA, a marketing manager, a bookkeeper, anything like that, you probably will still have to do a 1099 on them when it comes tax time. So you're going to have to be able to pull their information. So like making sure you have a place where that is stored, you can find it easily. It's not going to send you into a tailspin every time you have to look for it, because you might only have to look for it once a year, but it takes you 3 hours to find it because you don't know where it is. So some policies and procedures, I think, are just things like, how do you want people to ask for time off, sick leave, dress, conduct, email procedures, just things like that, that you might not need a policy or process in place right now. But let me tell you, as somebody who has hired, fired, and lost some people, when you don't have those things in place and then you have to think of them on the fly, that is very hard and frustrating. And then something else I want people to think about kind of in this area of their business is, what does onboarding a new hire look like? Just the same way you would onboard a new client. So again,
smart.
Real elementary, break it real down. What is the process it's going to take to onboard that new employee?
Well, and even if you are not in the position to hire people, think about it this way as well. You might be bringing on contractors just for weekend events, which again, those are all processes that you can document. Right. And how much better will their experience be with you?
And I almost think if you don't have people, do this now. Because when you get to the point where you're like, oh dear Lord, I got to hire somebody, let me find someone. and maybe you get somebody hired kind of quickly, and then you go, oh gosh, what are we going to do first with this person? You don't want to be thinking of it on the fly. So I would say if you're coming up in downtime over the next couple of months, I think these are really good things to work on and think about. And maybe as you're going into 2020, maybe you are thinking of hiring a contractor or an employee, or again, even if it's just event staff, there's still going to be things that they have to learn. And there's going to be some kind of onboarding process you need to take with them. So this is definitely, I think, something people leave for the end. I know I put it at the end of our list, but I would encourage people to not wait until they need somebody. Do it, kind of start thinking about these things before.
That's such good advice. And you feel less pressure too.
Way less pressure.
Way less pressure. You're not thinking like, oh, geez, I have to create this now because I just brought on my first employee. And then, you make mistakes. You are not thinking through everything.
Overlook things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, why didn't I talk? Then they do something at an event that maybe rubs you the wrong way, but you only have yourself to blame because you did not onboard them correctly. So they didn't know that they weren't allowed to wear jeans.
Totally.
So
totally.
Good. That's so good. Wow. We really covered a lot in today's episode. That
was a 50-minute crash course in setting up your processes for your business.
I loved it. And, I just feel like this was a lot, you guys. So go back, take notes in each process, but also these were all very tactical tips. And Ashley teaches that way because she wants you to take this information and go do it. So what I would love for you to tell us about is we've kind of mentioned it a few times, but I really want you to talk about Wedding Business Bosses Live because they're just this was basically just like a tiny little sliver of what's happening at Live.
I am so excited.
Yeah.
So this has really been my dream from when I started talking to Jenny and Kristen about purchasing Wedding Business Bosses. I knew
they've also been on the show, guys, just so you know.
I know.
Boop, boop.
I have always envisioned, I love business education. I love events. I love workshops. I've been to some really great ones and I've been to some like lackluster ones. And what I saw in our marketplace was something for the middle, something for the person that is not at the very beginning, that doesn't even have their first client yet. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But this is really for the business owner that's been at this a little while. We're saying like a year plus is really good because you've got probably some traction under your feet, and but you're not necessarily at a place where you're investing $10,000 to go to engage.
Right.
This is really for the person that is kind of ready to go from, we're like at point B and we're ready to go to like point D sort of in their journey. They're really looking for that growth moment and, hey, I'm kind of here and how do I take the next step? And so we have 8 amazing presenters: Lauren Carnes, Laura Foote, Kristen Kaplan, Jenny Krause, CC Todd with CC Designs, Ashley Miller with Blush Event Company, Amber Anderson of the Refine Group for Wedding Planners, and Natalie Gringish with the Operations Authority, which you guys know that's like, I just geek out when Natalie talks because I'm like, all this operation stuff, this is so fun. And the reason I specifically asked those 8 women to participate is because this is not going to be a talk at you workshop or conference. All 8 of our presenters are staying all 3 days. We start January 19th, which is a Sunday, with just like a welcome party. And then we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of education. So we have amazing presentations by those 8 amazing speakers. In between, we're going to have mastermind sessions. So everybody's going to be grouped together based on some information they're going to give us ahead of time. And really what I hope in those sessions, which are going to be led by our presenters, is you're going to come to the table with a question, an idea, a thought about your business. And you're not only going to get the brain of that presenter and myself, you're going to get the brain of 4 or 5 other people from your group to give you feedback and kind of reflect back to you. And I have done several mastermind sessions. And to be honest, those have been the most pivotal and game-changing events of my business and my life. And so I really believe in the magic that is there in those relationships, and also just that sense of community that comes with doing a mastermind. And then we have Wednesday, our last day, is pretty much dedicated to an entire implementation session. So we actually have I have a whole framework worked out, which will be the first iteration of the Wedding Business Bosses Planner. It's a business planner, and you're going to take what you've learned based on the presentations, the feedback you've gotten from your mastermind, and what's listed out in the business planner for creating a really tactical plan for when you leave the workshop. I have left tons of conferences with notebooks full of ideas, and then got home and had to jump into the thick of it and didn't act on any of it. And that's just because we are, again, we're spinning all the plates, we're juggling all the things, and life takes over. And I don't want people to take time away from their families, take time away from their business, come invest in this workshop, and then leave with nothing tangible and actionable to go out into the world and change their business and their life with. And so that is truly my mission with this. Is I want to see these business owners go from the doer to a real CEO mindset. And I think people think like CEO, like this big thing. I just want people to have this ownership of their business and this idea that you are more than the craft that you are providing. You are the CEO, the head of this little empire that's yours. And how can we make that empire better for not only your business, for the clients that you're serving, for the people that work for you, but also for you, your personal life, and finding that margin in your business and in your life so you can continue to do what you love. And so that's what Wedding Business Bosses Live is going to be all about. We've got swag. We have lovely meals planned because food is very important to me. And all kinds of really fun surprises that I'm just really excited about. And this is truly like my passion project, my little baby. And I'm super, super excited for it.
And I'm so excited. I'm so excited, you guys, that I'm a sponsor. So if that doesn't tell you how excited I am. Well, and I've been part of Wedding Business Bosses, I think almost since the inception when Ginny and Kristen first started it. And then, of course, I've stayed since you've taken over the helm. And, oh, man, live events are really... You know, I started the podcast on the back of a live event. So they're very close to my heart. And I have not seen one like yours before, where there's mastermind time. There's also time for implementation. That's huge. What are the dates? Yeah. Tell us the dates.
So dates are January 19th through January 22nd in Birmingham, Alabama. We're easy to fly in and out of, drive to, all that good stuff. And tickets are on sale now.
And I'm going to put the link in the show notes, my friends. Ashley will give it to me. I'll put the link in the show notes. If you can't find it, let me know. Happy to point you in the right direction. Yes. But you can also come on over to Facebook at the Wedding Business Bosses Facebook group, because Ashley's constantly in there teaching us, helping us, answering questions. And there's a lot of good information about Wedding Business Bosses Live, in addition to all of the other goodies.
The group is awesome. I also wanted to say, She Creates listeners, if you put She Creates Business in like your purchase notes, we will give you 10% off your ticket price. PayPal's a little funky, so we'll have to refund you the 10%, but just put She Creates Business in your purchase notes and we will take care of that.
Yay, She Creates Business. Ashley, thank you so much for doing that. That is so sweet.
Of course.
She Creates Business. So just so you guys know, again, I'm going to put that in the show notes and tell everybody where they can find you online.
So we are at Wedding Business Bosses on Instagram. Wedding Business Bosses is the Facebook group. So like Kinsey was saying, that's our free community. We do once a week webinars in there. I try to hop in and just share like my favorite resources, things I've found, podcasts I like, all kinds of things. We have great conversations in there. Other people post their questions. It's a really safe, happy, nice group of people, which is very lovely to find on the internet. And there's a whole bunch of information about Wedding Business Bosses Live in there too.
Ashley Stork, thank you so much for being here again, talking about creating processes, creating margin in your life. I appreciate you so much. It was my absolute pleasure to have you here.
I am so grateful. Thank you, friend.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to She Creates Business. Please take a minute and head to iTunes to leave an honest review so we can help more wedding pros find the show.